insights. I want the bets from Betting Weekly, because we win. That is our motto. Sometimes we win, sometimes we don't win. Don't give us a bird, don't give us your stink eye. We try our best and we're successful. Come watch our show, Bet River sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show.
Welcome aboard, everyone, to Betting Weekly Live. It is Friday, the 15th of August. You're with Steve Wyss and Lewis Jones, and it's an exciting day. It really feels like it's here, Lewis. The opening day of the Premier League season, the opening day of the French Liga season, and also La Liga. How are you doing, my man?
Yeah, great to see you, Steve. Great to see you and hear everyone and coming to join us here for a very exciting day, isn't it? Always a brilliant day, the first game of the Premier League season, and we've missed it, haven't we? It's been far too long this summer without it. There's been too much talk. There's been too much noise, too much moaning from managers about not getting the transfers in, and fans getting very angry about the lack of investment that each club is making. But now it's just we've got something to talk about now. Actual football is here, and we can concentrate on the meaty stuff and find some winners and get properly stuck in, Steve.
Yeah, I've had an absolutely manic day. I mean, this has probably been my busiest day in weeks. Just like everything. I've been looking at absolutely everything. You know, Premier League, La Liga, French stuff. There's a Norwegian game later. I've not even had time for it yet. So that just shows you how busy it's been for me today. But welcoming everyone. Put your best bets down for today's matches. Liverpool, we've got Marseille in action. 2 La Liga games as well. Welcoming Rick Haley. Mick Chung is asking about Marseille. I'll cover that game. Leslie Matt, good to see you. And Real Brandon King said it's good to see Lewis back. So, it's you put your best bets in chat today. Plenty to discuss. House specials today. Before I forget this, Soccer Profit Boost back. Log into your BetRivers app or on betrivers.com, and each week, and you will receive a Soccer Profit Boost pack consisting of a live profit boost and also a parlay profit boost. This is an ongoing house special from BetRivers, so make sure you make full use of that. And also, there is a house special in the Liverpool game. Mo Salah to score in the first half has been boosted to plus 155 if you like that one. The most notable soccer bet yesterday, 25,000 on River Plate over 0.5 goals against Libertad. That was sadly a loss in the Copa Libertadores. The Betting Weekly Insider as well. I always mention this when I'm on the show. Do sign up to the weekly newsletter. The 2 newsletters we've got. The Insider should be coming into your inbox today within a couple of hours. And we've got loads of matches covered across the board. Premier League, across Europe, and also a bit of South American action. So do sign up for free. Cost you absolutely nothing. Steve from Lynn, good to see you. Tariq Amer says Liverpool half-time and full-time. Byron as well. Enjoying the Copa Libertadores action. Holo Ihe, good to see you. And Hibs and Dundee. I saw that I watched the live show yesterday. That was a great double for you in the Conference League. Both of them to score, yes. And Dan, I think Dan needed to let you War sort of win by more goals, but he didn't. He got his push, I think, on that game. Villa fan, good to see you. Where are you going to finish this season, Villa fan? Let us know what you think. Foxy as well, good to see you. We're going to start things off, actually, with a bit of La Liga action, Lewis. And I'll tell you what, I'm in a really weird sort of mood at the moment. I am in a huge under goals mood right now.
My favourite type of mood.
Do you know one of the main reasons for it? I think the rest of August we could see quite a lot of unders in the main leagues, and the weather is one of the big factors right now. It's so hot in Europe. It's even been really hot in the UK. And first game of the season is a La Liga fixture. This is Girona against Rayo Vallecano. Girona plus 120 favourites. Rui Barlow says keep an eye on them. They might be in danger of going down. They were in the Champions League a couple of years ago, but he's not too high on them. The under goal line here is under 2.5 goals at -150. And for me, I'm going to take 2 bets in the game. I'm going to take under 2.25 goals at -117. I mean, at the minute, at kickoff, it's going to be about 93 Fahrenheit for this match. You've got 2 teams that are known for missing chances anyway and making hard work of putting the ball in the back of the net. We're going to get hydration breaks at least once in the half, possibly twice. It's going to be stop-start. And I just don't think the goals will flow. And another bet that I really like for this game in Girona is the corners. Over 9.5 corners. Both sides ranked in the top 8 for corners last season. Vallecano averaged the 4th most corners in La Liga. And you watch them play, they're actually a bit 4-4-2, a bit of a throwback to the days of wing-backs, full-backs going forward, getting crosses in. They take so many shots, they miss so many chances, but they get a lot of corners. So for me, the corners bet is a good one here with Girona and the unders. And then later on, Villarreal against Real Oviedo. We've got a big favourite here against newly promoted opposition. They won the playoffs. Real Oviedo, the last team to be promoted into La Liga this season. The playoffs take ages there. And again, I'm not as hot on this under here, but I still think it's worth a nibble. -108 on under 2.5 goals. You're basically going to get a team come and park the bus on match day 1. Villarreal should be winning this match. The 1-0 and 2-0, I think, are very possible. But whilst this hot weather's going on, Lewis, and I'm exactly the same over the weekend in certain fixtures, I love unders when it's really, really hot, especially early in the season, because the players are not up to speed. And physically, it's very, very draining, slower-paced games. What are your thoughts on that sort of thing?
It's a really interesting theory, actually, the correlation between temperature and goals. I mean, it's something I've never really dug into as a sort of an analyst and a punter, but you seem to be pretty confident there's a relationship there between hot weather and under goals. It does make sense because you mentioned there that the sort of the hydration breaks and the fact that the time doesn't really get added on either, which is a real pet peeve of mine in football. So that obviously then that less minutes, more chance of an under bet copping. So you think there's a correlation there, Steve, between the weather and the goals?
Extreme cold and extreme heat usually for me is unders. The danger sometimes with extreme heat can also lead to defenders just being too tired and drained. And the new 5 sub rule has probably helped goals more. It's that watch out for them players coming on about 65, 70 minutes who are fresh against tired defenders. But first half's especially very, very tight for me when it's hot. But it's more the stop-start nature of it. The hydration breaks, I know there's a mandatory one, but you also tend to end up with a couple more when a player gets injured and instructions get to go on the pitch a lot more than normal. And early in the season, I feel like in these type of games, no one really wants to lose. Especially the sort of mid-table outfits. So I'm always on the lookout for unders, and I think I'm just going to be tucking into so many under goal bets probably before the international break. That's my strategy. Hanging my hat in here now. There will be some games that explode, of course there will, but I think unders in general across the 4 main leagues before the end of the month will be a good bet because there's no sign of this heat wave ending. Everybody obviously likes Villarreal moneyline over 1.5 goals. Villarreal should have enough. But I'm not actually sure where I am with Villarreal this season. I think I've got them about 6th or 7th. And Foxy says he likes both teams to score, yes, because it's an enticing price. There's actually several La Liga games the first round where both teams score, yes, is plus money. And you've got to try and pick your spots. Effie's got a lead on Rayo, draw no bet as well. Byron says, who's going to score for either of these teams? Hopefully no one. It's a good question. I'm not really that confident in any. That Girona game generally could be 0-0 for me. The 0-0 detector is bleeping a little bit. Villarreal should win later, but that first one I really do like the unders and the corners. It's not going to be so hot on the Merseyside coast today, this evening. It's still fairly warm though, Lewis. But the big game, the Premier League is back. Liverpool, Bournemouth. Here we go. -360 on the defending champions. Against the Bournemouth side who are plus 750 now. The ties plus 540. Over 3.5 goals is minus money. Seen a lot of different takes about this game today. Mostly, I think most people do expect Liverpool to win. That Bournemouth maybe could cause them problems in places. I'm really interested to hear your assessment of how this game is going to go. Bournemouth just seem to be losing players left, right, and centre all the time.
Yeah, they do, but they are quite a reliable team, I think, Steve, to bet on, even at this time of the season. I know we haven't got any form to go on at all from the start of this campaign, but you know, and I know, and everyone knows how Andoni Iraola is going to set his Bournemouth team up here, which I think is a very good spot for us to be in as bettors, even at the start of the season, really. And I know they've lost some key defenders, haven't they? But you know they're going to play exactly the same way, even without. They're probably going to play the same way, but without the same level of execution. I would argue that the likes of Huijsen and Kerkez and Zabani's provided. So their output's probably going to drop a little bit, especially probably over the first 10 games where they try to bed in their new players. But I do think we can be pretty confident to know that the way that Bournemouth are going to play. And the one thing that I always associate with Bournemouth is how inefficient they are in the final third. They create a lot of chances. They play very aggressively, but they do find it difficult to score in big moments in matches. And that equates to them falling behind a lot in games. And we can see it for their expected goals data last season. Their XG figures were 65.6 for goals scored, and they only scored 58. So they underperformed their XG by sort of 7 goals last season, which doesn't surprise me at all. And when you miss chances, you leave yourself exposed and you normally fall behind in the game. So this is why game states normally go against Bournemouth, and this is why their shot numbers are always very high. They ranked 4th for shots in the Premier League last season. That was even more than Arsenal. So the shots lines, when they have these sort of spots against the big teams, when the market perhaps is fading them slightly, always interest me. And I know it's the first game and we should be getting too excited about a bet, but I think the lines are wrong here for the Bournemouth total shots line, because I think they will lose this game and they are going to fall behind at some point in the match. So the game state's going to help that with the shots output, and because they've got an absolute terrible record against Liverpool. They played quite well in these matches, but the last 5 fixtures they've played under Iraola against Liverpool, they've lost 14-2 on aggregate. But the shots data behind those performances is really encouraging, because they've actually averaged 14.6 shots per game across those 5 fixtures. And they hit 19 shots at Anfield in this corresponding fixture last season. So I was very sort of surprised and quite excited, Steve, to see over 10.5 shots. So we need to get 11 shots in the bank here. He's -125. That's where the line has been set with Bet Rivers. And I think that's quite generous for many reasons. And even just when you just run the raw data of their shots output from last season, 15.6 per game Bournemouth were recording. And they covered that line, the over 10.5 line, in all of these 5 fixtures with Liverpool under Iraola. So I think this is an opportunity for them to go there, play without fear. They'll play aggressively. They'll press. They've got Semenyo's fit. Ivan Nilsson's fit. All their sort of attack-minded players are all there that like to get shots off. And just thinking about Liverpool early on in this season, they looked a bit sort of skew-whiff to me in terms of their defensive line against Palace in the Community Shield, which is very understandable considering you've got 2 new fullbacks. Van Dijk looked all at sea in the new setup. So I do think there's going to be chances for Bournemouth in this game. I'm not sure they're going to have the quality to really go toe-to-toe with Liverpool, and they're going to make it into a helter-skelter game, aren't they, Bournemouth? And I think Liverpool will come out on top pretty easily, but that doesn't mean that the Bournemouth won't have their moments and rack up the shots and hopefully land us a nice start to the season. So, yeah, I really do think this over 10.5 shots at -125 is a very nice price to attack, because I do think we can rely on Bournemouth to play as they did last season.
Yeah, that's the good thing about Andoni Iraola teams. They are quite predictable in terms of their approach. He doesn't change anything in particular. I mentioned Rayo Vallecano earlier. That's where he came from. And I remember that team under him there. They were always shooting a lot. And nothing really changes with him. In 4th most shots, that's a really big stat, actually, really incredible stat. No one would have. Well, it didn't surprise me because I watched quite a lot of Bournemouth that season, but that might surprise sort of casual observers of the Premier League. Interesting stat here from Foxy. Both teams score yes has failed to hit in 10 of the 12 meetings between these 2 teams. I've seen both teams score yes. Sort of a lot liking that, and I like it as well. I don't think either team's going to keep a clean sheet actually today. The goal line at 3.5 I think is probably set about fair. I don't want to go over or under that line. Looking at some other bets here, Holo Aye says another one, half-time, full-time for Liverpool. He likes that. Bournemouth season opening matches have gone under the total in the last 6 seasons. That's an interesting one. FJ Football is never listened to Dan again. after Lecce Warsaw. I think he advised a -1, I think, last night. That's a push, FGA football. I think he did have his ladder after that, but the main bet I think was a push. To be fair,
it's harsh on a push to never listen to him again. I mean, you want to see some of my bets over the years, you'll never listen to me again if you've taken that. So a bit harsh on Roebuck, that I think.
It's a bit harsh. Tristan said he thinks his value on the under. Effie's got some shot on target bets for Gakpo and Szoboszlai. Liverpool to win 3-1, says FGA football. He agrees with you that the manager will go for it. What are your thoughts on the main goal lines here, Lewis, and also the Asian handicap lines on Liverpool? You're looking at about sort of minus, I think it's minus 1.75, isn't it? Is the Asian? I need to check actually what the latest line is, but goal line, would you touch it?
No, both of them actually. They're both priced accordingly for me. I think really both of them. The goals line. I think it's going to be a really good watch. I think it's worth tuning into this game tonight because, as we mentioned, Bournemouth, they only got one way of playing. They always give it a go against the big sides. And Liverpool showed in the Community Shield this new guy they've got in midfield or just playing behind the strikers, Florian Wirtz. So excited to see him in the Premier League. I think he's going to be so devastating this season in that pocket. Whether he can take Liverpool to a title in his first season, I'm not so sure. But in terms of the way that he moves, the way that he picks open defences, the Anfield crowd are going to absolutely love him. I'm really looking forward to seeing him strut his stuff this evening. I think in this sort of game where he's going to get lots of room to manoeuvre, he could be a factor, I think. And I think Liverpool could be in for 2 or 3 goals tonight. And Bournemouth also to add to the scoring. So anyone who wanted to take on the overline, I wouldn't put them off, but I think you're getting probably the right price. So it wasn't really an angle that I thought was worth exploiting.
Yeah, I think for me, if the goal line had been 3 or 3.25, I may well have been looking at the over, but 3.5 looks about right. 89% of the money's on Liverpool, just 80% of the tickets though on the money line. So there has been a bit of a sprinkling on Bournemouth on the money line and also the tie in that respect. And just 74% of the tickets are on the over-under line. Again, it's probably because it's so high a line that it's focused, sort of uncertain about getting involved. If it was 2.5, if it was 3, like I said, I think there'd be 90% of the ticket more on the over for this particular fixture. There's that house special that I mentioned, Mo Salah to score in the first half of this match at plus 155, and there's been a lot of debate about Mo Salah heading into the season, mostly in sort of fantasy ranks, it must be said. I don't know if you're into your fantasy at all, Lewis, but the question's been thrown out there. Should you have Mo Salah in your team or shouldn't you? Is he going to be the top scorer of this season? How do you think he's going to get on today? Because you've got an angle on him, an interesting angle here, which I was slightly surprised at, but I'm intrigued.
It's we're actually looking to take on Mohamed Salah in his shots on target lines here. Under 1.5 shots on target is offered by Bet Rivers here, and I think it's a really interesting market, these under shots on target lines, when you can find an angle. Price has come in a little bit from earlier. It's now minus 161. I think it was near minus 120 earlier, and that was a really appealing price. It has been backed, but I do still think there's juice there. So this under 1.5 line, if you'd have backed Mohamed Salah in the last 16 starts to back his under 1.5 shots on target line, you'd have won 14 times, Steve, because his whole output really since I'd say February has really been declining, and it's probably no surprise really that since he signed that deal, because we've seen it so many times with strikers, once they sign a new contract, a high profile contract, they can see their contract coming to the end, and their output absolutely spikes. Then they sign the deal, and it goes off a cliff. And I do think it's happening here with Salah. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang was the same at Arsenal. So these some really interesting stats here that I've got about Salah and the decline that he's gone through since after February. So before February last season, he was averaging 0.6 goals, non-penalty goals per game. That dropped to 0.2 after February in 16 games. His shots on target data went from 1.9 before February last season to just 0.7 per 90 across his last 16 games. And he hasn't cleared the 2 or more shots line in 8 of his last 12 games. So he's only had 1 or 0 shots in 8 of his last 12, which if you have been backing Mohamed Salah in the shots market, you have been absolutely doing your dough, because his shots lines are always set at around sort of 2.5, 3.5 sometimes. And he's just absolutely miles away at the moment from hitting those numbers. It even happened again in the Community Shield against Palace as well. I think he had 1 shot in the game, and that was on target. So Yeah, so I just think he's going to struggle to be the main man this season, Steve, to be honest. And I think anyone looking to think he's going to repeat his sort of tricks from last season and repeat the feats that he hit, no, not for me at all. And I think it's down to do with this Florian Wirtz signing as well, because he hasn't got Alexander Arnold behind him anymore, who supplied him so much quality ball in good areas of the pitch. And now all the attacks are going to come through Wirtz, who likes to play off the left a little bit. He's quite a way away from Salah. So the game plan to get Salah in one-on-one situations in the box last season worked perfectly for Slot, and they won the league because of it. But I'm not sure that avenue is going to be the same this season, and I just think his output is going to drop. Whether it'll take him out of the team or not, I'm not sure. But I definitely think taking on his shots on target lines when the prices are right, I think they're worth taking. I think the price is still right. It's a very short price, I know, but I still think it should be shorter. I think it should be somewhere around the sort of minus 250 mark. This under 1.5 shots on target. So we just need Salah not to have 2 or more shots on target. And I think it's a price worth attacking with confident stakes.
Yeah, I think he's generally more opposable this season. Let's not forget he's 34 next summer as well, by the way. And Father Time does wait for no one. There's a few physical freaks down the years, Ronaldo, and Mo Salah is one of the fittest out there. But, you might expect a slight decline. I'm a bit concerned about his minutes on the field this season as well, for those who regularly back him. I'm not saying he's not going to have an impact. I think he still will have huge impacts. But I think Slot might be looking, because they've got so many options, that if he can bring him off after 70 minutes, 75 minutes, he will do it a lot more this season, especially if games are won. Even if games aren't won, they've got so many. I mean, Zombor Palfi here mentions in the comments about he likes Liverpool 3-1, and Ekitike looks really good. He's a top quality player. Potentially, I mean, Nunes has gone. I think it's a massive upgrade, to be fair, in terms of finishing. And, they're still linked, obviously, with Isak, but that's a story for another day.
I think Arnie Slot showed he's a really ruthless customer as well, Steve, in his first year. I remember the first game of the season where Gerald Quansah had an absolute nightmare in the first half against Ipswich. We hardly saw him again for the rest of the season. And it was the same with Darwin Núñez, really. And they've managed he's given him a chance for the season. But as soon as he knows that he's not good enough for the level anymore, Slot's quite happy to move players on when they're not firing. I think it's a real good sign for Liverpool being in good hands under this manager, and I don't think he'll be afraid to remove Salah from the starting 11 if he's not performing. Got Harvey Elliott there as a backup as well. He was also sort of tailor made for that right forward role. So he's a player I really like as well, and he might be able to impress when given the opportunities. And obviously, if Isak comes in as well, I'd be very cold on Salah in terms of his top goal scorer price for the season and things like that. And just at the moment, while the numbers are telling me that we need to back these underlines when it comes to Salah, I'm happy to row in, because I think Liverpool could change the way they play this season, and he hasn't got Trent there to supply him with all the creative passes that he was famed for. So I think he might have just a bit of a cold continue of his numbers, I think, Steve.
Now, this match kicks off at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and I can now reveal a bit of new breaking news from this show, that later on at the full-time whistle today, we are going to be debuting a brand new, what we're calling a reaction show. It's going to be me and Jack Wright. We're going to be on for about 20-25 minutes, and we're going to be breaking down the match. Often after the first matches or the first round of games, there's a lot more movement in the betting markets, the odds and stuff like that. So we'll be talking about, we don't know what the result's going to be, but we will be breaking down the game. So do come and join us live at the full-time whistle on this channel, live on YouTube, live on X, Facebook, and Twitch as well. And we'll be doing this hopefully several times a month. If there's a really shock result, big result going around in the soccer world, or the tennis world for that matter, we're going to be covering it for you, instant reaction, because that is sometimes where you can sort of make or break some of your bets, get on quickly. Do you take your time? Do you be patient? I mean, for me, I'm not someone that knee-jerks very quickly, Lewis, but sometimes you do have to react quickly.
Absolutely. Especially from trading situations as well. There's really good opportunities out there to react as soon as that full-time whistle goes, which you have to be looking ahead in this game all the time, because there's always angles to try and exploit. So I'll be listening in, Steve, to see what you make of it. Hopefully you'll be dissecting another poor performance from Mohamed Salah where he was absolutely non-existent.
Yes, hopefully. Okay, so we are going to talk about Premier League winner and relegation a bit later. Lewis has got a bet for us for the Man United game at the weekend as well. Noah Goodman, good to see you, by the way. He's coming up with several bets in chat from different leagues today. He's going with Bodo Glimt match under 3.5 in Norway. I do agree with that. I think the reverse fixture was 1-0, and they might be focusing on the European game. He likes both teams score, yes, Rennes, Marseille, and he likes Waalwijk on the money line in the Netherlands. I think that's how you pronounce them, Waalwijk. I think that I did look at that match, actually. I think they look a good bet as well. But anyway, on to the Marseille fixture. Liga does start today. Rennes against Marseille. I think this is a really interesting clash. Marseille plus 104. I'm not sure I'm having them at evens. I do think Marseille will finish second this season, but Rennes are my sleeper team in France. I think they can get back in the top 6, possibly in the top 4 this year. They're not in Europe, and they've got a much better squad. Last year, they dramatically underachieved with the quality they had. They've got a manager in Habib Bey who came in, and at times they look good, more organised. I think he's more of a safety-first defence, pragmatic coach. He's sort of looking at a 3-5-2 formation, but realistically, in these sort of games, it's going to be 5 at the back, I think. And that's why, again, I'm liking under Lewis here. And this time it's plus money, plus 105. Again, it's going to be pretty hot conditions in Brittany, in northwest France. I'm not as strong on this under as I am with the Vallecano game, but at plus 105 is a tasty price in a match where I think Rennes will be quite pragmatic and quite disciplined. Marseille, you just don't know with them sometimes with Roberto De Zerbi. Someone mentioned Aubameyang. He is back now with the club. I don't think he's going to start this game. It looks like Greenwood and Guiri and probably Rowe up front as the front three for Marseille in this particular fixture. I looked at the player props. There's nothing I like in the player props at all, but it is interesting that Quentin Merlin is set to start for Rennes. He's just transferred from Marseille, so you might get a bit of magic from him potentially. But I didn't really like any of the player props for the game. But I do like under 2.5 goals at plus money. The 1-1 draw is maybe on the cards here. Draw would not surprise me for the fixture, and I've got a breakdown of the money for that particular game as well, if I can find it. And here it is: 74% of the money and 80% of the tickets are on Marseille, and just 55% of the money is on the over. So really quite split with the over-under money, suggesting that in general it's more of an under fancy with the bettors. But I'm not sure I'd go plus 104 with Marseille. Anyone in chat, if they do like Marseille, put it down. Do you trust Marseille away from home? They were very good away from home last season. But this Rennes side, I think we'll look back at the end of the campaign, and anyone who gets a win or a draw away at Rennes, that will be a very, very good result this season. They are going to be a lot better than in the previous campaign. That is Friday's main matches covered. We move into Saturday and Sunday. And Premier League winner for you, Lewis. Got to have you say in this market. As far as the books are concerned, it looks supposedly a 3-horse race, possibly 4 if you include Chelsea. Where would you go in title winner? I mean, for me, it is a boring pick, but I mean, for me, Liverpool's squad is too strong. Would you agree with me or not?
Most likely winner, I think, yeah, Liverpool. But it's from a betting perspective, and this is what we're obviously looking at. I don't think there's any need to get involved with this market now. I think every team is pretty much priced up pretty fairly, I would say, and it's going to be such a volatile and really interesting and choppy market to sort of assess this season. I think we'll have a lot of fun looking at the Premier League winners market this season with lots of twists, lots of turns, I think, because I think there are 4 teams in the mix, and I would include Chelsea into that. So, the price, all the good prices about Chelsea are now gone after the summer. They're about fair enough, but they're probably shortened at some point this summer as well. Man City are the ones that I think, if I knew what was going on with the charges, and there would be no points deduction, then I think I would probably look to get involved with Man City at those prices. But you can't take any sort of long-term investment on Man City at the moment. And I just think with this market, Steve, as well, there's 2 big variables still at play at this time of the season, isn't there? transfer window isn't shut yet. We don't know who's going to do some late business. If Liverpool go and get Isak, then that'll be absolutely massive for this. And obviously injuries as well. We got to talk about injuries because it completely ravaged so many teams last season in the Premier League, and it does bring lots of variance to the table in terms of taking a long-term view on a team. And I don't think the injury situations will be as bad this season in the Premier League because we're on the back of a summer where most of the players have had a rest. But we've already seen the likes of James Maddison, Levi Colwill both go down with serious knee injuries and miss the season. And it only takes one of these huge players, as we've seen with Rodri over the past couple of years, to change completely everything in a title race. And if you just look at the two teams that had the fewest injuries last season, Steve, Liverpool and Nottingham Forest, they both had fantastic seasons because they both stayed clear of injuries and they both overachieved from what was expected. So I do think it makes such a difference if you can stay clear of injuries. But unfortunately, as bettors, we can't really have a real we can't quantify that, can we? When we're looking at how many injuries a team's going to get, I don't think so. Very hard to take a really positive long-term view on this market. But I think once it starts moving and shaking a little bit, and the prices go a bit all over the place, and we get an eye on these teams, then it's going to be a great market to follow. I think the Premier League winner one.
Sort of best of the rest then as well, because there's a few teams that are being mentioned as, I mean, Brighton. I've heard. I mean, I quite like Brighton to have certainly top 10 year, quite how high. I'm not sure they're going to go. Teams like Forest perhaps regress down there, and then you've got this sort of chasing back. Man United, who knows with them? Newcastle seem in trouble right now. That could change. Spurs impressed in midweek against PSG. Aston Villa. Top six is what you like for the Villains, Lewis. You thinking they could have a strong season? Yeah,
it's probably my strongest play actually of the anti-post season, so to speak. This Aston Villa to finish top six plus 135. I still think that's really backable. There's another bet on the Bet Rivers site, which is the number of points amassed over the season by a team, and you can get even money here at over 58.5 on Aston Villa, which is very, very generous. I think Villa have got last two seasons 68 and 69 points, so I'm not sure why the market has them regressing by sort of 10 points or so. And I think getting anywhere near the 68, 69 point is going to be more than enough for another top six finish. Because have they really regressed over the summer? I can't see it, and I can't really believe that Newcastle and Manchester United are actually shorter than them in the betting for the top six. Doesn't really make any sense to me. And where this sort of like real strong fancy for Villa comes from, when the end of the season comes, Steve, I always make a list of my predicted table for the next season just before any signings are made, and always like to go back to it around this time of year just to see if I've changed too many of where I have teams just based on noise and transfer and talk, because it can really cloud your judgment in this period of the build up to the season. Because I do think markets and bettors to a certain extent also they do overreact in this period about transfer market activity, and it can sort of cloud the judgment, I think. So at the end of last season, I had Villa fifth. I think they were going to finish fifth next season. So I don't see why they would have regressed so much than what the market has suggested here. They've kept Martinez, got Morgan Rogers. He's going to get better this season. They've got Yuri Tielemans in central midfield, who has turned into one of the best midfielders in Europe, I would argue. And just look what they did to PSG in that second leg at Villa Park in the Champions League last season. Most of that squad's still there. That they can really lift it in these big games, especially at Villa Park. And I just think Unai Emery as well. He is someone to put your faith in terms of consistency, because since taking over at Valencia in 2008, he has finished in the top 7 of that league every single time. 14 from 14 in terms of a top 7 finish. And his average finishing position in that time is 4.1. So this is a really, honestly, probably one of the best pound-for-pound managers in world football. He's still got all his key players there. He's really good at with these sort of teams like Villarreal and Villa and Sevilla, punching above their weight. And he's going to do it again this season. I just think there's so much reliability in what they provide from what their output suggests again to really put a lot of confidence in that price to finish in the top 6. So yeah, really think Villa are going to be nice and consistent again this season. Steve, I'm not sure why the markets are disrespecting them.
I do tend to agree with you there, and certainly I do like them. I'll tell you what I think is one of my best player prop bets of the weekend in the Premier League. You mentioned him there, Yuri Tielemans, plus 260 to score or assist with Bet Rivers. against Newcastle. This guy is going to have a really strong season. He's a genuine dual threat with scoring and assisting. And Rodgers, I think Rodgers is injured at the minute, isn't he?
No, he's back. I think
he's back now.
Conference earlier, and Unai Emery confirmed that he is available. So he'll probably play in the 10, and Tielemans will probably play a bit deeper. But he's still on set pieces, isn't he? Tielemans.
That's some recovery from Rodgers, isn't it?
I know he was. I think. Well, you can never believe managers when they talk about injuries in this day and age. But yeah, he's available for selection.
Incredible.
So
still like Tielemans. Because he was obviously he was performing with Rodgers in the team.
If Tielemans plays in the 10, Rodgers won't be fit enough to start. So maybe keep an eye on Tielemans, because if Tielemans does play in the 10, his record there last season in terms of shot output, goal output, everything was really, really strong. And he's a fantastic footballer, so underrated. Tielemans just showed the genius of Unai Emery last season to get him playing at the level that he got, having just had him for one season. So yeah, really love Tielemans, and yeah, he'll be, if he plays in that 10 at the weekend, then he's certainly on my radar.
Getting so many comments in, I can't go through them all. Promise you, I am reading them all. I'll go back to some at the end. But we are getting a lot of comments about Arsenal, Lewis. Victor Gyökeres in particular. I think someone put up, FGA Football says he fancies Arsenal not to finish in the top 4. Questions about Arsenal Man United this weekend. The good thing is, you've got a bet for us in that match. So let's talk about Arsenal in general, Man United maybe a bit as well, and then the match. Where do you think Arsenal is set for the season?
How do I think Arsenal are set for the season? Yeah, I think they're in a good spot. I think really like they're so solid, aren't they, in terms of their defensive output? They've kept Gabriel and Saliba there. You know how they're going to set up every week. It's just the case of, can they find the required creative juices from open play, I would argue, this season, because last season it did drop off a cliff. Their expected goals from open play per game and the shots created from open play really nosedived as they became very reliant on set pieces, too reliant really in a lot of the games. And they've just got hope that the likes Odegaard being fit and Saka and Ben White coming back in, actually, that little triangle that they put together down that right-hand side is so crucial for them, and they would need to improve their chance creation from open play. So I do think they did become a little bit too predictable last season at times against the low block. So they need Odegaard to spark. They need Saka obviously to score the goals. And yeah, the big lad up front, Gyökeres. Yeah, the jury's out on him. Is he an upgrade on Havertz? I like the way Havertz links the play, to be honest. I know Havertz isn't your natural finisher, but Arsenal get the goals from wide. And this argument of how Arsenal are just a centre forward away from blitzing everyone, I've never really got it, to be honest, because I think in the modern day, you get your goals from wide areas, Saka, Martinelli from midfield. You don't need to rely on that centre forward to score you like 25 goals anymore. You just need a good link man in there. So I'm not sure it's going to fix everything for Arsenal, this centre forward, but that's just my opinion. I think it's been a little bit overblown in the media, the fact of the centre forward situation. But yeah, I think they're set for a good season, but they need to win, because it's a must-win season for Arteta, isn't it? He needs to get a trophy, otherwise this could be his last. So yeah, I'm very positive on Arsenal still, but you just want to have a look at them across the first 5 games to see how this centre forward situation, if it takes them to the next level or not.
I think the good thing about Gyökeres, and I think Nigel Seeley mentioned this quite a bit on Premier League show and some of the live shows, he is a bit of a flat track bully. And you need that, actually, sometimes, to be fair. There's teams like the sort of the average teams that you need someone like that who's really confident against them, who can kind of bully them. If he can start then delivering in the really big games, because his record in the really big games at Sporting wasn't that great, apparently. So let's see. I think you're right. The jury's out. They've needed a striker for a long time. They've bought one. They've got one now. Let's see how he does. Week 1, though, away at Manchester United. What is the bet for this game? Man United could be anything, I think. I really do. But I think it'll be a feisty clash. I think it'll be a competitive clash. I'm not sure which way it's going to go. Yeah,
I would stay clear of the outright mark here, because you're right about Manchester United and how they could be anything this season. That's so true. But I really like backing Arsenal away from home in terms of their under goals output, the under 2.5 line. I know we've spoken about it already in this heat, and how under 2.5 lines are really appealing to you this weekend. Well, this might be a game to put on your list, Steve. So I really like the under 2.5 line here. Sort of around even money with Bet Rivers. I think it's a really nice price, because 63% of Arsenal's away games last season went under 2.5 goals. Only Everton had a better strike rate in terms of under 2.5. And these sort of games where Arsenal go off around even money or 11 to 10, somewhere around there away from home, there's a real pattern emerging, actually. The last 9 times where they've gone off 11 to 10 or bigger on the road, they've actually only won one of those games. And the average goals per game sits at just 1.89 in those matches, with 7 of them going under 2.5 goals. So I think that says a lot for the way they like to approach these, what I would call heavyweight games away from home. So I still do think going to Old Trafford on the first game of the season against a team that will be full of hope and expectation and a good atmosphere with the new front three in the building now. So I think they're going to approach it quite with a defensive first attitude, I think, Arsenal. And when Mikel Arteta and Ruben Amorim have met as well, they've drawn 4 of the 5 meetings. So this under 2.5 line, I do think it's a real runner. And the market might just get carried away with it being the first Super Sunday of the season. There's obviously a big historical narrative between the two teams, isn't there? Lots of attacking new signings on the pitch. But I do think the reality is the two teams will probably just respect one another on the first game of the season. It could turn into a bit of a cagey game, and there's definitely evidence to support that these Arsenal games away from home do go down that route. So under 2.5 even money, yeah, I think it's one of the best bets of the weekend in the Premier League.
It's infectious, isn't it, this under betting right now?
Oh, yes.
But the weather is a factor as well. Like you mentioned there, it's going to be nearly 80 degrees Fahrenheit in Manchester on Sunday. That is balmily hot for Manchester, I can tell you now. And in general, just really unusual for the Premier League. There'll be at least one mandatory hydration break. Again, it'll be start, stop sort of thing. I like the play. Really do like that play. Again, I just can't. If I had to pick a score, I would go 1-0 Arsenal. If I had to, gun to head, but I'm not sure about the outcome. But I do like the idea of not many goals. I said I'd go back on some comments, a couple that stick out, and I want to give him a shout out from Wednesday's show. Kiton Niao he actually backed Spurs moneyline midweek at 6-1. I think that was a really unlucky play. They should have won that game. But he was asking about the DFB Pokal. Can't even find the comment now. The team that I am looking out for in the German DFB Pokal is Hoffenheim to beat Hansa Rostock. You get them probably on a -1 Asian handicap. Hoffenheim have scored 40 goals in 8 pre-season friendlies. They are on absolute fire. They just beat Metz 8-0 last weekend. Goals left, right, and centre. They also won a match 11-0. It was against a bunch of amateurs, but still, the goals are flowing with Hoffenheim. They are
you know that one's going to be under 2.5 now after all this.
Hey, 2-0 will do. 2-0 away win will be fine. They haven't conceded many goals. They've kept like 5 clean sheets as well, so they're scoring goals for fun. Hoffenheim, and they've got Leverkusen first up next week, actually. First match for Erik ten Hag. Wouldn't be a surprise if they went there and got a result. And Shakespeare, where was you? Shakespeare says he's going to be betting in the soccer now. And he was asking about a match in the Championship. Coventry City at +145 over Derby County. I quite like Derby under John Eustace. They lost last week, so I'm not sure I'd be going down that route. I could see that being a draw. But talking the Championship, Lewis, before we sign off the show, you're going to give us your best play from the English Championship this weekend. Where you looking towards? And just a thought on that Coventry game.
Well, yeah, interesting. Coventry were actually high on my list this weekend away at Derby. I didn't think Derby were very good at all last weekend at Stoke. Created really nothing of note apart from the goal they scored through Carlton Morris. And common factor really with Derby in terms of their attacking output since Eustace took charge. Do like him. He sets up teams brilliantly, but not sure they've quite found the fix yet. And Coventry, I know they drew 0-0 with Hull last weekend, but they created lots of moments in their 40 touches in the box. They did pin them back for large periods, and they did play like they did last season. So can definitely see where Shakespeare's coming from there with Coventry. They're definitely on my list at those sorts of prices. But the best bet in the Championship for me is Millwall to beat Middlesbrough on the money line at +115. I just think we've got a perfect case here of two teams which they're meeting. And one I'm very positive on in terms of Millwall, and the other one I'm looking to fade. So this is a perfect scenario for me when assessing the prices where you can get bigger than odds against for Millwall to win at the Den against Borough. Yeah, I mentioned very pro on Millwall this season. Very good on the opening weekend. They beat Norwich 2-1 at Carrow Road. Posted 2.09 expected goals. And that was a really impressive performance considering the amount of expectation and hope that Norwich fans had going into that game. So credit to Millwall and Alex Neil for getting the result there. And I do like backing his teams when he's got the right ammunition here. And I do think he's got a squad now that sort of suits his style, very aggressive, direct, uncompromising. I think it's a perfect fit for Millwall to have a really good season. And I really want to back them a lot, I think, in their home games against sort of limited opposition. I actually would classify Middlesbrough as a limited opposition this season. Changed manager, haven't they? Michael Carrick to Rob Edwards. I think that transition from Carrick's possession style to Edwards, who's more of a sort of a pressing and set piece orientated sort of coach, could be quite an awkward one. I know they won 1-0 last weekend at home to Swansea, but they had just 6 shots and scored from a set piece. So they only created 0.35 worth of XG and won 1-0. Lost their best player, probably, Van der Berg, in midweek. He's been sold for big money. Got a few injuries still. Goalkeeper Sonny Den's still out. A few more injuries as well. So I can see them being quite lackluster at Millwall, maybe getting blown away by their just directness and aggressiveness. And there's plenty of hope for the season for Millwall, I think, and the fans will be well aware of that, and they'll really be behind their team. So I think it's a good price, this Millwall to beat Middlesbrough at plus 115.
What really interested me in midweek was Borough's defeat in the EPL Cup, and manager Rob Edwards labelled it unacceptable against Doncaster. I think was it in 0-3,
3-0 at home, yeah.
And the thing with Rob Edwards for me, I think he's a bit too nice sometimes in a weird sort of way. I'm not sure it's a great fit for Middlesbrough. Rob Edwards and Middlesbrough just doesn't ring right. I might be proved wrong there. I can
see where you're coming from. Especially he's got a lot to prove now, hasn't he? After what happened last season, I mean, to take a promoted team down to the Championship, which was what he did basically. I know he left before the season was up. But that's on his CV. That with the parachute payments and the amount of quality in that Luton team and the amount of advantage they had over the rest of the league, to do that is a catastrophic failure, really. And he's very lucky, I think, to get a job of this ilk at a club like Middlesbrough. So he's got a lot to prove, and I do like him. He comes across very well, but whether he's capable of moulding this Middlesbrough team into his style of football early doors, I'm not sure, and I've got a lot of doubts. So yeah, looking to take him on where I can.
Yeah, that was a dismal failure, really. I do think he's not a bad tactical manager and technical manager, but him and Middlesbrough, I'm not sure it's going to work out. Let's see how it goes there. And one word before we go: Millwall, 8-1 for promotion. Play or fade?
I'll play, 100%. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I think they've got a chance, definitely. Okay, that will conclude the show. Thank you very much, Lewis. Coming up in about 13 minutes, dropping on the channel, Betting Weekly Extra Time, the first edition of the season with me, James Eastham and Dan Roebuck. We cover every single game in France and Spain this weekend on Saturday and Sunday. And then later on, of course, we've got Betting Weekly Hardball and Betting Weekly Fast Break. We've got Doug and Wes there on the Fast Break show. Those boys have been on absolute fire recently. So do check that out. And remember, do join us later after the full-time whistle goes at Anfield between Liverpool and Bournemouth here on Betting Weekly. Live reaction with me and Jack Wright. We're going to dissect that game, check out any market moves and stuff like that. Best of luck, whatever you are taking today. And thanks so many of you in the chat today. I couldn't get through a lot of it. It's absolutely bonkers, but thanks so much for the support. Do keep liking, do keep subscribing on the channel if you're new in there. And if I didn't get around to your comments today, I do apologise. Sean Coder, you've been saying a lot of stuff on here. Villa 120-1. Best of luck for that for the Premier League. But so much stuff. Lewis, what is the best bet for today or tomorrow for you?
Yeah, let's go tonight. Let's go this Bournemouth shots line. Over 10.5 Bournemouth shots at, was it minus 112? Was it something like that? Around even money. I think they'll cover that line. They have done in the last 5 meetings with Liverpool, and it should be a really good game. Hopefully, Liverpool get ahead early, and Bournemouth have to just get forward and get the shots away. So over 10.5 shots. So 11 or more shots for Bournemouth at Anfield.
Thank you very much, Lewis. Best of luck with all those plays. And me and you are back on Monday, Betting Weekly Live for the first Monday Night Football. Yeah, you know how to butter me up, don't you? And think long and hard about what you've got to say about Dominic Calvert-Lewin. You've got a weekend to think about that. It's going to be an exciting one for Monday. But Lewis, thanks again. Best luck with those. Thanks, everyone. Gamble responsibly. And do catch us later for the reaction after the Liverpool game. Take care.